Hi, I'm Uncle Mark. Take a listen to this. You'd swear it was like the door or something like that, but it's actually a shock. I'll show you why. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to replace them the easy way, and if you have a bunch of rust, like this one did, how hard it can be. This is it moving. That was making all the noise. The shock itself is pretty good. So I was using an 18mm wrench, and it should come off pretty easy, but these bolts were so tight, I used an extra jack. I had sprayed it quite a bit. I was getting it loose. I sprayed it again, let it do that. Well, I figured I'll try this top one. It's only 2 bolts, right? Each end has 1 bolt with a nut on the back of it. So this is the top one. What I did is I put my wrench in the back, and then I actually put some needle nose vice grips on here to hold the wrench on so it doesn't fall off. It's just actually behind that wrench. You can see there's the wrench there, 18mm, I believe. And my needle nose vice grips. And then I used a fairly big bar.
Amazing.
I had sprayed them. That back bolt. I'll show you where the bolt is in a minute. Actually, nut. I'm actually turning the bolt. It's a nut on the back. It's pretty tight though. So let's get back to this. Let this soak for a while. And look, you can't even get a socket on here because part of the suspension's in the way. Could get it on the back though. So I figured I'll put the socket on the back and I'll use a wrench on this side. What I did is I actually had that bar there hit against the ground so it wouldn't turn anymore. But this is pretty tight and I've soaked it quite a few times. Probably help if I had a little more room if I wasn't so close to the ground. So I used 2 wrenches. Not necessarily suggested, but that's what I did. And was able to loosen it with the little extra leverage. Tried to spray it a few more times. Sometimes it helps too if you can tighten the nut back up a little bit. Put some kind of liquid on there. I'm using a penetrating oil on it. Loosen it, tighten it, loosen it, tighten it. But it was coming off not bad. Slow going. But it wasn't getting any tighter, so I thought, oh, I'm okay. So to show you from the top here, so there, it's coming out. So once I got the nut loose enough, I was trying to knock the bolt out because it's kind of seized in there. Got it quite a ways out here. Then I have to use either a punch or something else to try and drive it out. Sometimes you can use a screwdriver if it'll fit in there. Phillips screwdriver sometimes. If you got a good one that you're not going to wreck. Then I end up using one of my little 3/8 extensions. Holding them with another pair of vice grips and I don't smash my fingers. Whacked that a few times. Got it out as far as it could. Tried tapping it. You can see it's loose, but it's stuck in the shock itself. I tried grabbing it with this wrench and hitting the wrench, which I'm hoping will grab the bolt and knock it out. You can see some of the problems the shops will have. Then I used a little screwdriver in here, and I believe this just got it out the rest of the way. That was easy, wasn't it? That's normally how easy it could be. Now, if we go to the top of the shock again, you'll see I've got my wrench in there. You got to be careful it doesn't break any of this. Your heater, if you have a rear heater in it. Your lines to it. Don't want that to snap off. Was able to loosen this up a little bit more. But there's a warning to this. Now this side went real easy like this. I don't know how long it took me total. between spraying and everything else, I bet you I still spent 2 hours by the time I got this one shock off and put the new one on. By the time you jack everything up, keep lubing stuff. Because again, now this one kind of stuck in there a little bit too. Oh, it finally came out. There you go. There's the shock. Now this is what happened on the other side. Again, I couldn't turn the nut and bolt. There, it snapped the head off of the bolt. You think that would be easy. Nope. Again, this is on the other side. This is on the driver's side. It could be on either side. You'll see it springs up on its own when I let go. That's because the metal piece that goes in the rubber grommet there is seized in there. The bolt's seized to the grommet, or whatever, it's like a bushing or something. So I'm trying to get the bolt to come out of that sleeve that's in the rubber on this shock. Tried a whole bunch of different things. Tried putting a little less pressure on the shock by lowering it. Lowering the suspension. See the rubber moving? It's turning, it's twisting. And it is stuck on there pretty good. Tried whacking it, pound it out of the back like that. You would think that would, almost not enough room. If this maybe was on a hoist and you could really swing that hammer, but because I'm on the ground. So then 2 wrenches, tried to turn it. Maybe I should have tried this with a ratcheting wrench, because when you let go, it just wants to spring back. So then I figured, well, let's turn it the other way. It's not really hooked up to anything. Anyway, you get the picture. It's going to come out here right away. We'll move on to the next part, which is even harder to do. It's good that you see this, because if you're planning on getting a shop to do it, or you think you can do it yourself, it's good to know all the things that can go wrong. This one went pretty wrong. Now again, remember, this nut that's on the broken bolt isn't hooked up to anything on the other side. And I actually have to use as much force as this jack can to turn it. And we're getting it sprung to the top. And normally, the wrench should just stay at the top, right? Spoiler alert. It's not going to. Figure I'll hit the bottom of the shock with this hammer again. Probably be nice if you could hit it a little harder. Look at that. It wants to spring back. It's like I've accomplished nothing. But eventually, a little more turning, a little more fighting. And again, you can't get at this side either because of the, it's got your lower, well, what is it? It's a trailing arm on that one side there. Barely get something in there. Maybe if you had a short, like maybe a short socket and a U-joint, that might have got in there. You know, it's just about out. Give me another minute here. If you run across this problem, you're going to want to know the solution. There, I think it's out. So that was the easy part. I don't know how long that took. Good half hour. A good half hour. And here you can see how this is wore out. Now the top one. There's our bolt. And there's some other little bolts that are holding this housing. You just should be able to only get the one bolt out, right? I'll show you the bottom here. There's 2 more here that are, it's a mount, I guess. There's a mount that has 4 bolts. So I tried turning the one on the shock a little bit. And I thought, well, let's see, maybe I can get the mount off. Because if you got the mount off, then you could either cut or break this bolt off the shock after. So on the driver's side, there's an inner fender well on the back where this rear shock is. And it's kind of hiding some access that we need. I'm just going to take this off. There's one more of these clips. Get that out. That's what these look like. Should be able to take this off, if that helps you. Remember the skippable chapters as well. wiggle this out. Some guys will just break all these off, but then what do? You're going to try and drill out the threads? I don't want to do that. So here's my plan. To get at these two bolts on this side, well, first I thought I could just spray through here. This one was not too bad. The other one, pretty hard to get at. Plus there's two in the back. Tried that for a while. Tried loosening them. You could loosen and then tighten a little bit and then loosen again. So I had loosened it a little bit and then it got really tight. So I tightened it and now I'm loosening it again. I seem to be able to get 4 or 5 turns out of it and then it's really tight. So I thought, oh, I'm going to just tighten it back up a little bit, spray it again, and then try and loosen it. So that's what I ended up doing. This is just bolt number 1. So while that was soaking, I thought I'm going to try this original one, the one that just goes through the shock. Maybe I can get it off. And you see I've got a big bar on that other bar that I have. And it would barely move. And that's after spraying the nut on the back of it. Tried it again. Made some progress just moving it just a hair. It's like hoping it's not going to snap off, and I'll show you why you don't want it snapping off. Put the bar back in if you have a big bar. Actually, this is the bar from the jack. Half of it. And you see it kind of moves a little bit, and then it's like, oh, I think we're having some issue. What I'm actually trying to do is I don't have anything on the nut on the back. I'm just trying to turn the whole thing just to see if it'll turn. So I'm going to spray back, and this is what it looks like actually. You see the nut on the back here? There's a frame. Your chassis, I guess, is right here, so that bolt cannot come out that way. The nut will, and then once you get that nut off, you need to, here's the bolt side that you'd be turning. If that snapped off on this side, how are you going to get this to come out this way? Because that's the way it's going to have to come out towards you if the nut doesn't come off. It's one of those dilemmas. I don't know who designed this, but somebody that wasn't going to have to take it off later. So I'm going to try, after soaking it again, to get it to move a little bit. Figuring, here's the plan. New plan. Take a drill bit. I'm going to drill up here somewhere so I can spray fluid on that bolt. And do the same for that one. Like, there's a whole bunch of holes in here anyway. I was going to use some of these, and I think I still will, but a drill just big enough to pop that in there, you know, like that kind of idea, and then it won't, but I don't think we even need to if they've got holes there. They've got a hole up there. I don't know. We got a hole right. This is all open. I thought, man, no wonder you can't get nothing off. So that's what we're going to try and do. All sorts of junk that can fall in there. I'm going to make myself a tap a little pilot and drill a hole out. Then look, you can spray right at the bolt. I mean, right on the threads. Do the same on this side. Drilled that out. Then I was able to spray. And then, you know, you can spray when it starts to tighten, loosen up a little bit, spray it again. Or the other way around. Tighten it up, spray it a little bit, loosen it. And you see how tight this is? And you'll see this bolt's already out a little bit. But I guess the nut or the bolt has, the threads have rusted. So they don't want to come out very well. So I was working on both of them. So, you know, it was either work one way or work the other way. Whatever was going to work. But if these break off, now what do? You're going to have to either go to a shop, or you're going to have to try and drill out the bolt. This is like half hour later. I'm just playing with these. More monkeying around. You can see how hard this is. Like, I'm a pretty strong guy. But I didn't want to put 2 wrenches on there and then twist it and break it off. So here, oh, finally, this one came out. 1 of 3. And guys were saying, oh, you couldn't do this. Well, I'm sure going to try. Spoiler alert, I do get it off here. So I'm figuring that's soaking. I want to try and get at the back bolts, which are lower as well. So I'm going to drill right there, and you got to be careful because there's some lines. I think they're brake lines. Able to get that back one, and the fluid did end up running down to the other one. And look at that, got this bolt out too. And this van is 13 years old. I thought I'm just going to try and clean these up on a wire wheel. And that's about as clean as I can get them. Those threads are kind of messed up anyway, but if I can get it past that side there. So back underneath there, this black piece that I'm up against is actually the gas tank. And you see the two bolts on the bottom of the frame. You're going to do a lot of stuff laying on your back. I do have a jack stand supporting the van. You never want to just trust a hydraulic jack. So if you can get these two off, you can see where they are. There's the one. Doesn't look much better than the other two. And then this last one. So just about done removing this. And if you're really patient and have, I don't know, this took an afternoon to get this side off. Trust me, a whole afternoon. Like 4, 5, 6 hours monkeying with this. You want to try such a hard thing? I don't know. I guess you could try, and if it looks like they're not going to move, bring it to a shop. They'll be able to do it on a hoist. They'll might be able to heat it up a little bit.
That can't be done.
There you go. You'll see these lines have a little, what do you want to call that? Clip that holds right in here. We'll show you where the hole is. There's that nut again. You have to be able to get out. So I figured I'm going to try and cut it off. Not much room to cut it off though. So I figured I'll cut half of it off and then I'll just twist it off, and that's what I did. So basically almost got it kind of enough. Don't want to wreck the mount. Did that, then I got my big bar out. Got my 18mm wrench on there. And my big bar, and just twisted till I got it off. And of course, same problem as we had before, where the bolt is stuck in the sleeve that's inside the rubber and doesn't want to come out. So I end up having to knock it out there. Again, not that easy to do. Yeah, it looked like it was coming out. There you go. Pulled the shock off and half done. So there's this little hole here is where that little clip goes to hold those brake lines from rattling around too much. And the back here is where my hand is, where your frame would be. So got a couple of brand new bolts for the shock part. I'm going to put some nickel anti-seize. The reason I'm using nickel is it's good for any kind of metal, especially if they're two dissimilar metals. That way I don't have to have a whole bunch of different kinds of anti-seize. I just get this one. I don't know if it costs really any more or not, but it'll work on all various kinds of metals. I'm lubing it up because I want this to be able to come off easy next time. So generous supply of it all over the place. I got some washers as well. Where did I get the bolt and nut? I got it like from a Tractor Supply. Actually, it was a welding shop. You can torque these to about 55 foot-pounds, I'm thinking. Although, because I've got lube on it, I'm thinking that, like the anti-seize, is going to actually make the torque a lot higher. So in theory, you could have made it maybe a little less, but I didn't break them, so 55 foot-pounds. Now this shock mount, I'm going to make sure everything's lubed up there too. Make sure that that little piece goes back in there. Set it up in there. Get my bolts in. Plenty of anti-seize on them for next time, because there probably will be next time. And if I don't own the van, somebody else will be so happy they came off real easy. So these, I'm not sure what the torque's supposed to be to. It looks like, and I'll show you from underneath, trying to get that back on there. I was trying to look it up, and it looks like they're probably 40 foot-pounds. I'm just going to make them nice and tight by hand. 40 foot-pounds isn't super tight, so get them all in, tighten it all up, and we should be done. Not forgetting the back one as well. Should have asked before, but if you don't mind, why not give me the thumbs up if this is helpful to you. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already too, because I have a lot of these step-by-step. Usually tell you what kind of wrenches and things you should use. Usually try and tell you what the torque is supposed to be as well. And other things, where I got bolts from or nuts, where you can get some of these tools. Should be a link in the description as well for some of these tools. Now we just got the bottom one. You thought we were done, huh? Again, a couple little tricks to get this in there. I'm going to lube up everything. Try and get the suspension of the right height. Easier to drop that down than try and compress the shock. Just trying to line it up. Hold it with this side and get my other brand new bolt all lubed up, including where it fits inside the shock there in that sleeve. And trying to line it from the back. Needed some friendly persuasion, big hammer. Got a washer. Not everything's all lubed up nice. Try and tighten it. This one I found that the wrench would stay up there. Again, should be torqued to 55 foot-pounds. Although because I've got lube on it, that might be a little bit tight, but better too tight than too loose. And it's done. Now I just got to put this plastic inner well, fender well back in. I don't know what they would have charged to do this. I guess you can get a quote. Although if they break stuff, they're going to charge you extra for it, will they not? Unless you're at one of those good shops that it's like, well, we'll pay for anything that we break. Most shops, it's like, no, it's extra for that kind of stuff. And there we go. A couple more of these little push-on tabs. That one needed to be tapped in a little bit more with a hammer. Same with this one. And then all I needed to do is just put the wheel on. But before I could do that, I got to get that jack stand out of there. So I'm going to lift this side up as high as I can. Get that out. Get my rim on. Nuts on. Tighten them up. I'm just snugging them up. Then I'm going to torque them to this adjusted amount. I think it's 100 foot-pounds. I usually do 110 in a star pattern, and I'm done. So we see that this job could be either really easy or it could be very difficult. So you're going to have to weigh your options and see, should you try it yourself and maybe break something, which you might, maybe not. I didn't break anything, but it took, 6 hours, 7 hours, maybe 8 hours total for both sides. That's just nuts. Or should you just let, a shop do it for you? You decide anyway. Please give me the thumbs up if you haven't already for my effort in the video. You can subscribe down in the corner if you haven't already because, well, why wouldn't you want to see more videos like this? Plus, for this specific vehicle, I have a playlist right here. Just above the blue circle there, you'll see the flashing yellow arrow. Sometimes I've said blue for some reason. I don't know why. It's yellow. Looks yellow to me. I gotta go. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully it saved you a little bit of time or effort or annoyance or something by watching this video. Until next time, I'm Uncle Mark saying you and your family stay safe. Bye-bye for now. Please subscribe and you'll get all the notifications. It's easy. The little dog will show you how. Ring the bell. Ring the bell.
Come on, I can't see nothing.